Solving South Georgia's biggest mysteries can be like looking for a single pine needle on the forest floor. Pining is a podcast about families, longing for resolution and the search for answers. On the next episode, the Jessica Dietzel case.
People say they've seen her.
The South Georgia community as a whole, they've not lost hope.
The Dougherty County DA's office is committed to making sure that justice is served.
Pining, hosted by Jamie Worsley and Rowan Edmonds, is available on WALB.com.
I'm Jamie.
And I'm Rowan.
And this is Pining, a podcast about solving some of South Georgia's biggest mysteries. When I was selecting a case for the first episode of Pining, there was one that stood out to me from the very start and may have even been the catalyst for this podcast, and that is the case of missing woman Jessica Vanzant Dietzel from here in Albany. I do want to mention before we get into the details of this case that all persons of interest and suspects named by law enforcement are presumed innocent until proven guilty. So, Rowan, you are a producer here at WALB. You've been here about 2 years now. Before you moved to Albany, had you ever heard of Jessica's case?
No, I actually had never heard about it, which is crazy because I am really interested in the true crime genre and missing persons cases.
So, Rowan, the reason we're doing this story now is not only because there have been significant developments in this case, but also because today, July 23rd, would be Jessica's 26th birthday.
It would be a miracle, in my opinion, if they found something about her now, especially since today is her birthday. I think it would just really bring her that closure. So I'm hoping today that Jessica's family is doing okay, that they're together, that they're remembering the good parts instead of the bad parts. So I hope that for them, and I hope that someone is able to find something about her soon.
Yeah, for sure. And the one thing for me that kind of kept us coming back to the case was the love from Jessica's mother, Christina Johnson. So I want to go ahead and introduce you to her and let her tell you a little bit about who Jessica was.
Jessica would be out there enjoying life, and being a good mom and funny. She's so funny. She always have us laughing and stuff. She liked to have family get together with the family and stuff like that. I always think about her because she didn't like relish. I always had to make her a special potato salad, But just precious.
When Jessica first went missing, I was actually producing our 5 o'clock newscast just like you're doing now. And I remember hearing about her, a mother, a daughter, a woman that just simply was never seen again after February 18th of 2020. And if anyone watching or listening knows what Albany was known for in 2020, COVID. So a lot of our newscasts were dominated by that, but I do want to take a listen back to our coverage of Jessica Vanzant Dietzel from the past 4 years.
The search for a missing Leesburg woman is the top priority for the Lee County Sheriff's Office. 21-year-old Jessica Dietzel went missing in February. Investigators tell us they still believe Jessica is in danger.
We're learning new details about the final moments leading up to Jessica Dietzel's disappearance last year. Now, her mother is not giving up on the search for her missing daughter.
Well, today marks 2 years since Jessica Dietzel was reported missing. The Albany Police Department, Dougherty County Sheriff's Office, Dougherty County Police Department, and Lee County Sheriff's Office were all on this case. The last time the police found a record of her activity was February 18th of 2020.
It's been 3 years to the day since the last known sighting of Jessica Dietzel, but her loved ones in South Georgia have not given up on finding her.
6-year-old Elena Dietzel is appealing to the public for information in her mom's disappearance.
As they reveal some undisclosed evidence, new hope now in finding Jessica Vanzant Dietzel 4 years later.
Unfortunately, not much new information has come out over the years about Jessica Vanzant Dietzel's disappearance. Rowan, I'm going to have you read the timeline of events that investigators have been able to put together.
On February 13th, 2020, 21-year-old Jessica Dietzel was caught on surveillance footage at the Inmark gas station on Clark Avenue in Albany. She was wearing a light blue Nike shirt, leggings, and black Nike slides. She was also carrying a mustard-colored bag. On February 18th, the last communication from her Facebook page was tracked to the former Deep South Motel. By March 2nd, her mom, Christina Johnson, had reported her missing to Albany Police and Lee County Sheriff's Office after she didn't reach out on her daughter Elena's third birthday.
Bobby Poinevent, he was one of the first reporters that kind of picked up this story. I was producing our 5 o'clock newscast at the time, which is the same newscast that you're doing now. And so that's when I first heard Jessica's story. But I think for Bobby and for me as well, it was really Christina's determination to find out answers about her daughter that kind of kept us coming back to this case.
I was at WALB for a little over 2.5 years. I always thought it was interesting, and I got really involved with it because, you know, it just didn't seem like Jessica's story gained a lot of traction when we first did it. And, you know, we reported the basics. You know, she was a missing person, you know, this age and that kind of thing. She's from, I think she was from Leesburg or around that area, and just the basics. And so when I found out she was a mother, I kind of changed the narrative of how we started reporting on her, and I think it started building more traction off of that. This is one of the bigger cases that I've handled in my career, that I've thought, I guess, a lot about, and I've really worked with family a lot. And there's just been so many times and I'm sure, Jamie, you can relate to this, that if there was a time machine and you could pop into a time machine, it's just one of those moments I wish would go back to that convenience store that surveillance footage is and just say, hey, Jessica, let's get out of here. Let's go. You know, let's just save her in some kind of ways. But obviously that's not possible. But in a perfect world, you just wish you could do more.
Whew. Yeah, I definitely feel that way, Rowan, especially after something that happened in the initial days of Jessica's disappearance. The Albany Police Department sent out a press release, which we here at WALB subsequently reported that Jessica had been seen getting into a vehicle at another motel here in the Albany area. Turns out, though, it was not Jessica, and the search for her from a lot of out-of-state agencies were called off.
Yeah, that's pretty, I guess, upsetting, because it's like you put all this effort in, and then especially since they weren't able to, like, confirm it right away that it was her, or wasn't her, that's frustrating that all of the resources that they had put in, they pulled back and then realized it wasn't her. Did they put back on any more searches, or did anything happen after that as far as, like, looking for her, or did it all just kind of stay the same?
So, no, there were still searches after that. Lee County Sheriff's Office specifically continued their searches. They even, you know, requested GBI assistance, which the GBI declined at the time, and I can't say that it's because of that false sighting, but there was a charge still to look for Jessica. It just, like you said, was maybe with less resources than before. Yeah,
it seemed like there was, like, a lack of urgency at that point to get her, or to continue searching for her.
Yeah, and so we know, you know, I mean, from listening to true crime podcasts and us kind of being in this world, the first several days after someone's reported missing are really crucial.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate that this had to happen so early on.
Yeah, it feels like I don't want to say a missed opportunity, but like you said, those first few days are everything when it comes to searching for missing persons, and having that almost feels like it slips through your fingers, and then there's nothing that you can do at that point, and it's just really, it's just disappointing.
So, for the first time in several years, WALB was granted a sit-down interview with the Albany Police Department about Jessica's disappearance. One of the first questions I asked Corporal Investigator Terrence Bryan about was that sighting at the Luxury Inn. Do you have any reason to believe that that was Jessica, or do you think that was probably just, like you said, third-party information that wasn't verified?
I can't answer to that question. I can't answer that because I do not know. And I don't want to say something that is not true.
Investigator Bryant wasn't assigned to Jessica's case until about 6 months after she was reported missing. That's when cases are typically handed over to him because he works on cold cases specifically. However, Leah D. became involved in the search for Jessica after seeing a post about Jessica on Facebook. Leah considers herself to be a victim's advocate, specifically for those involved in substance abuse disorder. She also hosts a podcast about cases that need more media attention called Least of These.
As we're searching for Jessica, we're getting messages like, no, she was found. She was found at the Luxury Inn. And even us reaching out to the news organizations and asking them to take it down, they wouldn't, because it's our word versus the Albany Police Department. And when we reached out to the Albany Police Department and said, like, you guys have got to retract this, they just dismissed us. Like, I've never seen that in a case. I've never seen that in a case since. And since Jessica went missing, I've covered, me personally, 181 cases, I'm pretty sure. I just saw a need for someone to help people that were suffering from substance abuse disorder. It's rampant, and especially in Albany. You know, I've lived all over. My husband's in the military, so I've lived all over. I've worked in San Diego, but I've never seen the issues that we have here with drugs. And you couple that with departments that aren't doing anything about it. You know, when Jessica went missing, they immediately wrote it off. They immediately wrote her off because she was, you know, in their eyes, less than perfect. They didn't care to help. Christina was told she's probably out on a bender. I don't care what addiction someone is afflicted with, if they are or if they aren't. Their family knows. And Christina knew in her heart that no matter what Jessica was going through, it wouldn't have mattered. She would have reached out to her baby on her birthday.
As we were recording this podcast episode, the Albany Police Department Chief Michael Persley was out of town at a training. I wanted to give him a chance to clear up any allegations about the department's working of this case, and I have requested a statement and will add it to WALB.com when he sends it over. In the meantime, Investigator Bryant wanted to reassure the public and the family that they are still working on this case.
There's a lot of work that has gone in this case since the last time that we spoke with WLB. Several search warrants has been conducted. Interviews has been conducted. We've traveled outside of the city, outside of the county, searching several areas. Just hopefully that we will be able to locate her. To all those efforts, we were unsuccessful in finding Jessica. My only hope is that we continue to work together, that hopefully one day we'll be able to bring this case to a close.
I don't want to sound pessimistic. Their best efforts to this point have not been fruitful, like you say. Are you doing anything different or trying anything new now that you're over the case that might have a different end result? Well,
I'm an investigator just like other men and women that is here at the Albany Police Department. We all have different techniques in how we work our cases, but my job is to come back, go behind, read their reports to see if there was something that they may have missed or something that should have been done, and then it's my job is to make sure these things is carried out to see if there's any information that may have been missed or that wasn't missed, to see if there's something that could have been done differently that would bring us to a better position to where we are right now.
And are you at liberty to say if there was anything like that in Jessica's case that you kind of went back and redid or revisited that could have been done differently?
Everything that I have read in this report that the initial officers did, they did their due diligence in trying to locate Jessica. There was a lot of work, a lot of energy, a lot of effort put into this case, them trying to locate her. About all their efforts, it failed to no avail. Maybe a couple of weeks ago we received some more information. In the very near future we're going to look at another location site where we received information where Jessica may be. But that's where we are at this point.
But Albany Police Department is not the only agency involved. In the early days, there were 4 agencies: Albany Police Department, Lee County Sheriff's Office, Dougherty County Sheriff's Office, and the Dougherty County Police Department. But now only APD and Lee County Sheriff's Office are actively investigating this case. Since the beginning, Lee County Sheriff's Office has been working to follow up with every person of interest or name involved in this case, and they say the only one they have not been able to clear is a man named Gary Lynn Potter. Actually, the last message ever sent from Jessica's Facebook account was tracked to Gary Potter's phone. That last message, which to my knowledge has never been made public, was sent from near the Deep South Motel, now known as the 5 Points Inn in Albany. Witnesses also say they saw Jessica get into the truck with a man that looked like Gary Potter in a truck that looked like his at a bar called Cowboy Bill's on Sylvester Road. However, when law enforcement went to talk to Potter, he apparently clammed up immediately, denied knowing Jessica, and invoked his Fifth Amendment, getting an attorney and refusing to speak after that point. Gary Potter actually worked out of state, so it was really hard for investigators to kind of keep track of where he was or what he was doing. That is until March of this year, 2024, actually 4 years after Jessica Vanzant Dietzel was reported missing, that law enforcement were able to track him down to a jail in Gadsden County, North Carolina, where he picked up some serious charges. And Rowan, I'm going to have you read those.
The first charge is aggravated assault on 1 count. The second one is a weapon law violation on 2 counts. And the third is resisting arrest and escaping custody on 2 counts.
Now, here's what I was able to piece together from report details from Gadsden County. Bear in mind, though, there is no narrative on these reports, so I did my best, okay? It appears that Potter was at Caramont Regional Medical Center with his prison guard, Matthew Austin Smith, on March 4th of this year, 4 years after Jessica Dietzel was reported missing. It's unclear why Potter was being treated at the hospital, but he was serving time in Gadsden County for larceny and some other charges he picked up while in North Carolina. Apparently, at some point while in the hospital, Potter attempted to assault the guard. He allegedly had a metal and plastic shank, which was recovered off the hospital room floor. According to the report, he was also wearing a metal ring at the time of the attack. Now, while these charges are quite serious, Potter certainly does not have a squeaky clean criminal record. In fact, he has several cases still pending against him out of Dougherty County from 10 years ago. One of those cases involves him allegedly running over 2 people in the parking lot of another nightclub in Albany. While he was actually awaiting trial for that case, he picked up additional charges of aggravated child molestation and sodomy. Before answering for either of those cases, that's when Potter left the state of Georgia. Now, the Dougherty County District Attorney says he wants Potter brought back to the area to stand trial for those cases from so long ago.
There are uniform compacts between states that are effected by the executive, the chief executive of the state, and then of course that would be the governor of the state, executes a warrant, which is then sent to the holding state, again verifying that the requesting state has probable cause to bring the matter forward. And if a person wants to fight extradition, it's not going, in 90% of the circumstances, it's usually not too much to fight about.
So I know you said it's kind of a typical thing, or his right to not want to be extradited back to Georgia. Do you think it has anything to do with the fact that he's a person of interest in a disappearance case out of Dougherty County as well, why he might not want to be brought back here?
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to comment on that part of it. And in any event, even if he were not in the state, that would not prevent the police from, continuing whatever investigation they may have. And if it comes to a point where there's sufficient probable cause or basis to bring a charge, then there would be nothing to prevent that from moving forward. That could still go forward, and it would still be a matter that could be brought forward, whether he's physically present in the state or not. What happens is when they make a case, when they find probable cause or believe probable cause has been established, they will present the matter to a magistrate. A warrant is then issued for the charge, and that is when the district attorney's office would get involved. At that point, then we would be involved with the rest of the prosecution of the case.
In the meantime, Christina really wants him questioned by investigators about Jessica's disappearance, even while he's still in North Carolina.
I want them to make her a priority. I know that there's other cases against him, but they better be pushing it to get to him really good investigators. I know everything's not like First 48, all great and polished, where they bring them in and they just start blubbering or whatever, and they're, confessing. But they really, you see those shows and stuff, there are investigators out there who are trained, who can do this stuff. Okay, get somebody that's good to get in there and talk to him. And he's harmed others, and I can't, it's appalling that he's been out here able to continue as a normal member of society, and he's walking around amongst a whole community of people, and he's done the things he's done to people, with no regard. He's an awful, awful, awful person who obviously does not care about anyone or anything but himself.
So I also want to talk about some of the other people whose names have really kind of floated around when it comes to Jessica's case. Obviously, the one that was the kind of initial name that came out was her ex-husband, Kenneth. They were not together at the time of her disappearance. However, they do have a child together, Elena, which is Jessica's daughter. And they had what investigators told me was a volatile relationship. And Christina, Jessica's mom, has the same kind of feeling about their relationship. However, the investigator says that when Kenneth realized just how serious, they were about Jessica's disappearance, that he was genuinely concerned. But, that's basically as far as they looked into him. Christina, Jessica's mom, says in the initial days after Jessica's disappearance, Kenneth was actually pulled over, but his vehicle was not searched, his phone was not seized. And so, she kind of took issue with that because, of course, people always look at the husband first, and it just didn't seem like that was to the level that we've seen in other cases.
Yeah, it definitely feels in situations where the wife or the ex-wife goes missing, they always look at the husband first, especially since 4 days after he got out of jail, she went missing. So that would have been my first guess, too, is go straight to him and be like, maybe he has something to do with it, because all signs kind of point there, but, I don't know, I guess I'm struggling to understand how he was cleared, because, you can, not to, assume he did anything, but you can fake concern. It's very easy to do that. So I guess I'm just curious as to how they solidified the fact they're like, oh, he has nothing to do with this, even though the timing is very sketchy.
Investigator McTeer, she told me she couldn't rule him out 100%, but because it was not indicated in any of the messages on Jessica's messenger that she was able to locate him, it seems unlikely, she says, that she actually was able to get up with Kenneth before her disappearance.
I got you. Okay. That I guess that makes sense, but yeah. I mean, if it were me, if I was the investigator on it, I wouldn't rule anyone out completely until they, unless there is a solid alibi, unless they do find her, everyone would still be on my radar.
I want to move to another person of interest we heard a little bit about in the initial days, and that's a man named Stephen Etherton. At first, when I first heard about Stephen, I was like, ooh, this does kind of sound, a little bit off. But when I talked to the Lee County investigator, she really kind of reassured me that he might not be involved in this case. And that's because a lot of people were wondering why how he ended up with a Cash App card of Jessica Dietzel's before, right before and as she went missing. However, the way the investigator explained it to me made a lot of sense. And it was that, Jessica was not living in a permanent home. And so when she ordered her Cash App card, it had to be sent to a physical address. And so because they were friends and ran in the same circle, she allegedly might have just had it sent to his home. So I think alarm bells went off for a lot of people, but he was really cooperative with police from what I'm told. Mm-hmm. They interviewed him and his girlfriend and didn't think it was worth pursuing any further.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like it's not something too worrisome or too not really to be concerned about, because again, that is something that it's like clearly they had a connection if she sent this Cash App card to his place, but that's also that doesn't condemn him to anything. That doesn't mean he did anything. That doesn't, it doesn't really sound like, if I was the investigator, I don't think he would be my top priority, personally.
So going back to Gary Potter now, Albany Police Department has also considered if Potter might have been involved in Jessica's disappearance.
Well, to be honest with you, Gary Potter's name came up, but it didn't come up with him being listed as a potential suspect, just a person of interest. I cannot make any charge against Mr. Potter without me having probable cause or any type of evidence that places him at a scene of a crime. We do make cases off of circumstantial evidence based off of the information that is provided, and that goes off of previous crimes that has been committed, that we're able to tie all these crimes together. We did schedule a meeting with all agencies, surrounding agencies in reference to Jessica's case, but there were some conflicts at that particular time, and we were not able to have that meeting then. However, I'm thankful that we would be open to a roundtable meeting to discuss what all evidence that is available from all agencies and see if we could come up with a solution in this case.
Investigator Sean McTeer has been working Jessica's case for the last 4 years for the Lee County Sheriff's Office. She spent a lot of her time eliminating people of interest in Jessica's case, but one person that she can't get past is Gary Potter. Cell phone records and witness testimony from the Deep South Motel and Cowboy Bills put them together before Jessica went missing.
We made contact with a Hispanic male that she did discuss being in the motel with through her Facebook Messenger. We were able to go to the hotel, find this man based on records, and this is all February 17th into the hours of February 18th. He described where he picked her up from, which we backed up with camera footage. He said that he drove her to Cowboy Bills, which is a bar just on 82 there in Dougherty County, where she got into the truck, a white, he described a GMC or Silverado, fairly newer model, with a 30-something-year-old white male with short brown hair. So I think it was shortly thereafter that when we got the very final search warrant done for her final message, and it came back to Gary Potter. So then we learned Gary Potter fits all of that description. So that led us to a search warrant for Gary Potter's residence. We did seize that truck. We still have that truck. And Gary Potter, we did request an interview that was done at Dougherty County Sheriff's Office, and what he said was he did not know her, and then he invoked his Miranda. He requested an attorney and didn't speak to us any further. So we know, at least that's a lie, because we know he knows her. They were Facebook friends, had become Facebook friends prior to her disappearance, and we know she used his phone at least once to access her Messenger account. So, and it was the very last message that she ever sent.
What do we know about Gary Potter through, the work you guys have done separate in his relationship from Jessica prior to her disappearance? Does he have a lengthy criminal background? Is there anything that might indicate he would become a person of interest in a case or a disappearance like Jessica's?
When we did seize his truck, we did request GBI assistance to forensically examine the truck. There was a hair that, in my opinion, from just viewing it, resembles Jessica's. It's a long hair with a few inches of brunette roots, and the rest of it is bleached blonde. Which,
oh, wow.
So we have that, and it's one hair, but there are other stains that they did collect. Mm-hmm. That are going to be tested. We're still discussing the best route, because when you have one hair, it's kind of your one shot deal, and then not a known sample. We had held on to it hoping we would have a known sample for her hair. We do have DNA from, or swabs, buccal swabs from her mother, her daughter, and her brother, just in case they need that at some point. So all of that has been submitted along with the hair and then the stains. We're not sure how to test the stains just yet. because the truck was purchased used. Gary Potter was a wholesale car dealer. He would buy vehicles used and resell them. He would buy them at auctions and resell them, and that's what he did to earn a living, and which is also why he traveled so frequently. And some of it was for pleasure. He would go to Biloxi, and so it kind of, we've been waiting for that, and now, in light of his recent incarceration in North Carolina, we felt like maybe it's time to quit waiting for Jessica and go ahead and see what we can learn. And we're still in the discussion process of the best way, because we don't want to destroy our one hair if it does happen to be hers. And then still we will prove that she was most likely in the truck, and then we still don't have her. So a lot of it's just how to best proceed, and that's what we're trying to figure out now. Based on his pending charges for Dougherty County and Albany, and his pending charges in North Carolina, it definitely goes right along with him being willing to make sure we never find Jessica again if he was the last person to be with her. However, she may have, if she overdosed or if there was violence, because we know he's capable of all of those things. We know he has a drug history from other interviews and dealings, and we know he's capable of violence. We wholeheartedly believe it based on past incidents.
So how does it move from him being a person of interest to a suspect in Jessica's disappearance?
In my opinion, he's been a suspect since he lawyered up and denied knowing. That was immediate, because I feel as if he had nothing to hide. He could have just as easily explained his interaction with her and where he last saw her, as everyone prior to that was able to do and was willing to do right up into those last moments. So at that time, it definitely put him at the top of my list, and it may be plausible that when he is extradited, to attempt to discuss further things with Gary Potter to see if he's willing to talk. You know, if I were to make a bet on it, probably not. However, because he seems very apt to go to many lengths to cover himself, you know, based on all of his charges.
But you don't get out of jail anytime soon for attempting to murder a prison guard and escape. So you think a deal could be worked out if he were to receive a really lengthy sentence for that he might give you all the answers you're looking for?
That would probably be a question for the district attorney of Dougherty County, yeah.
Is that something you guys would be interested in?
Always. If we can get closure for Jessica, yeah, I mean, my point of view, yes. Because it's been a very frustrating 4 years of not finding her. Because when you feel like you're so close, and then just not. So, however, like I said, that those are not decisions I get to make.
So, Rowan, in the state of Georgia, in order for there to be deals reached in a situation like this, the family also has a say when they're talking this through with the district attorney. So here's what Christina mentioned about any potential deals that come from this.
There is nobody, whether it's Gary Potter or whoever it might be, that will get away with just taking a person and discarding of them like they're trash. I wouldn't want, no deal for nothing.
What if, because, like, I'm just thinking they're probably going to put this guy under the jail for what he did to that prison guard if it comes out that that's what happened. If he's already, like, let's say he's already going to be serving for the rest of his life, would you consider a deal then? If he's never getting out to never hurt anyone else?
If he was never to get out and never hurt anyone else. Yeah, because then he'd get to sit in prison for the rest of his life and think about it all. For the rest of his life. Yeah. Till he dies. Yeah, no freedom. In a cell, 23 hours and 45 minutes a day, maybe 15 minutes to get to go and shower. I don't know. I wouldn't even want to let him shower. I wouldn't want to let him eat. You know, I just want to let him sit there and suffer for the rest of his life.
Jessica's family has also turned over one piece of evidence that they believe connects Gary Potter to Jessica's case, but they say that evidence might have been misplaced.
So 6 months after Jessica vanished, there was a notebook found, and the notebook was found discarded, and it was clean. We had had rain in the area. I think everybody knows that when Jessica went missing, the Flint River was like an all-time high. It was storms. It was crazy. That notebook was in pristine condition, and the family has verified that the writings in that were Jessica's. It was definitely hers. But how did it get there? There's another interesting fact about that notebook is that it was found not far from Gary Potter's shop. And it was turned over and, to my knowledge, placed in evidence. And at this point, I don't think they can locate the notebook.
As far as the potential forensic evidence in the case, here's Leah again.
With the advancements that we've made in DNA technology, there are labs out there that are doing incredible things. I know I've covered a case where it was the boy in the box case that was solved, and it was solved from it was actually a Christmas present bought for a girlfriend from a guy, and they broke up. And so he didn't want this little, you know, what is it, Ancestry DNA, I think is the one that it actually was. And he didn't want that gift going to waste, so he sent in his DNA, and that's what cracked the case. We know that Jessica's mother is Christina. That's provable. So there is so much out there with genetic genealogy that I do think there are opportunities. And maybe what needs to happen is, if it can't be done in the GBI lab, I know that Othram Labs, there are others, but Othram comes to mind first, that are willing to do things that can't be done in a state crime lab.
I have reached out to Dougherty County Sheriff's Office, who they allegedly turned that notebook over to, about the notebook's status, and I'm waiting to hear back. Well, Rowan, I wish I had more answers for you, but that really sums up where we are in the investigation of Jessica Dietzel's disappearance. Do you have any final thoughts?
The justice system has just completely failed in that retrospect. Like, the fact that he was able to just walk away when he was seemingly one of the biggest leads in her case is astounding. Even if it was like she walked up to him and was just a coincidence, like, hey, can I use your phone really quickly? He could have at least said that.
What's your reaction to hearing that there is physical evidence in this case that has yet to be tested?
Are you kidding me? No, you need to do it now. Like, this is like... Because if she had been missing, like, what if... I don't know if you can even include this, but what if she had been alive when she went missing and then she died? Like, she could still be here if people, like, prioritize this and put this at the top of their lists, and it doesn't feel like it should be a difficult decision to prioritize this, but I guess it is.
Okay, Rowan. Well, that's the first episode.
Thanks for having me.
What do you think about it? You still want to do this?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's definitely hard. I'm, like, shaking because I'm so cold right now. But no, it's definitely hard. And it's very, very... It puts things into perspective in a way, like in a news way that it hasn't before.
I'm glad.
You know? 'Cause it's so easy, like, as a producer, it is so easy just to look at things at face value and be like, oh, okay, this is a grieving mom. What's new? But then you actually get to see it and you're like, oh, okay, this is, like, not something to take lightly. Not saying that I ever took it lightly, but it puts, when you have it right in front of you, it kind of humbles you a little bit.
For sure.
That's how I feel right now. I feel humbled right now.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
I hope they test that evidence. I really hope they test the evidence soon.
I'll pay for it. If it's a money thing, let me know.
Same. Me too. We can all chip in at this point.
Yeah, we'll start a GoFundMe or something.
Yes.
Because, yeah, at this point, like, what's the holdup?
Yeah.
I'll drive it to the crime lab.
Yeah, I mean, show me how to test it. I'll do it myself.
I don't know if we're qualified to do that.
We're absolutely not qualified to do that, but we'll find someone who is, and we'll pay them to do it.
Yeah, we definitely could do that.
We could.
I'll pitch it.
Yeah, that's all I have to say on the matter.
Okay.